I'm so excited for this episode. So Brooke and I were talking, and I was telling her about how I have found myself in some mommy mentorship positions as of late with new pregnant moms or like new moms and things like that, and kind of just sharing knowledge and just the things that have worked for me throughout my journey. Because, of course, although I haven't been a mother for long, I am a mother to many. And so I'm basically constantly running tests on all of these kids on the products that work, the tactics that work. And we've gone through a lot of things because there's four kids. So we've had a bunch of different challenges that we've already had to face in a short period of time. And so Brooke thought it would be great to share some of this knowledge. And so we're going to do it now, or at least we're going to start doing it.
Well, this series is called Ask Mother. Because I have so many questions for you, and I know a lot of the people who are pregnant with, one child have questions for you. But what makes your journey so crazy and interesting is that you have had all of these experiences that people are having with one child, but you have them times four. And not just as the sequence goes, like most people would, then the kid grows up a little bit and then you have, it's like, no. You have them all, like there's four simultaneous tests going at the same time. So I think that makes your input so much more interesting and also like obviously challenging, of course.
Sure.
But the type of person that you are is you just can handle anything. So I think listen, you asked and then you received. You wanted a family, and girl, you got your family.
I got one, didn't I?
Instantly.
Instantly, yeah.
Within 2 years. 2 years and 2 days?
Yep, 2 years and 2 days, four kids.
Within 2 years and 2 days, you had four little tiny children. So listen, hats off to you.
Thank you.
So I am going to be doing the interviewing because I don't know anything about these kids other than what you've told me. And obviously I pick your brain all the time about them because it's just so damn interesting. And I'm lucky enough that I just get to chat with you about whatever the heck I want all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to direct it to the questions that young mothers or pregnant women would have for you.
Okay.
Or some of them that you've gotten from young mothers and such. So, first of all, with all of the social media content that could worry you about like disorders or like autism or sicknesses or whatever, how do you sort of manage that stress? Because you don't have just one child to worry about. You have four different children that could all have different medical issues, and they do sometimes have like different medical issues or whatever. So what's that like? The stress of like the WebMD culture, times four.
I would say it is very stressful, especially when I had the girls. I had really bad postpartum anxiety, so I was freaking out about everything. And anything I saw, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like, they're too hot, they're too cold, they're sick, they're going to get this ailment, they're going to get this disease, they're going to have a bad reaction to their vaccine. I mean, anything that I even had an inkling that could happen, I was like thinking and preparing for it to happen to me and to my kids, and watching things on the internet and people showing like, here's my baby at 3 months, and this, we already knew that they had autism, or at 6 months my baby was diagnosed with this rare degenerative disease and whatnot, and then they're telling you the signs to look out for, and the signs in reality are signs that anyone could have, any kid could have and do, right? It's oftentimes normal behaviors for some of the kids, or normal things happening like dry skin or something, let's say. And so then each thing I'm like, do I call the pediatrician or not? And there would be so many times where I would call, I'd ask my husband, like, should I call the pediatrician? And then I would call my mom, who's a nurse, like, do you think I should take them to the pediatrician? I would call my other aunt, who's a nurse practitioner. Should I? Do you think that I should take them to the doctor for this? And they're all being like, no, you don't need to. And I'd be like, okay, hello, pediatrician. And so I called the pediatrician so much. But you know what my pediatrician told me? And I think that this can be helpful for mothers. Instead of staying at home and freaking yourself out, right? Instead of worrying yourself to death, she's like, this is what we're here for. Call the nurse's line see what they say. If they think you should come in, come in. If you just feel like you need to come in, come in. You know, we did a couple telehealth appointments when there were some things going on with the kids, but she was like, literally, this is what we are here for. She's like, she's like, I don't think you're crazy. You know, you're a little anxious, a little high strung, sure. You know, and she's really cool like that. So make sure you find a pediatrician that you can really like have that relationship with. But then fast forward, I have two more. And now I'm like, oh, I'm confident. I'm calm, you know? And the first time that the newbies got sick, I didn't call them at all. I was like, it's just a cold. Like, I know what to do. And so when we did go in, I was like, oh yeah, they were sick, you know, a couple weeks ago. Cause usually like give them an update. She's like, and you didn't call us? And she's like, my, what a difference 2 years makes. And you know, it's very true. There are still many things that I still freak out about, but I've grown, in some capacity. But I say, like, if you have that kind of mind that runs away with you, just try not to watch all that stuff. If you truly think something's going on with your kid, ask your pediatrician, not these people sharing their stories online. Now, I mean, granted, you could see something and be like, oh my gosh, my kid does that. And it's something unique or alarming. Great. That could be helpful for you to then go seek a diagnosis that you may need. But don't just sit at home and fester about it. Like, get real help, get a real doctor talking to your kid, talking to you, looking at your kid, whatever, and then go from there.
I remember you told me one that was like if your kid is like spinning around in circles or something like it could
Yeah.
be literally
It would literally,
anything.
like, they're spinning around in circles, or they don't answer to their own name. And it's like, well, sometimes they're just ignoring you. And all kids spin around in circles because they like it. But it's like there's levels to it, right? So, like, take note of behaviors. And if it's nothing extreme, and luckily, you know, the first 2 years you're at the pediatrician so much just for well checks, anyways, you kind of always have that next opportunity coming up to discuss concerns. And if they're not, you know, emergent, then just try to wait if you can.
Yeah, I actually have a scar on my chin right here because I was spinning around in circles when I was little and I fell on my chin. It's like, I turned out fine, arguably.
No, just
So,
kidding. Yes, you're absolutely fine. And yeah, I mean, it's like, it's crazy. There's so much information out there, and it can be very scary. And so,
I also you have to take into consideration that like people post things online. It's rage baiting, but
yes.
it also could be like mother baiting.
Yeah.
Like, ew, that kind of sounds like another word that I did not mean to say.
Yeah.
But like, if you're trying to post content to get more views and to get more outrage, it could be something like that where it's like, oh, watch out if your kid is spinning in circles because they might have
Well,
this or
and that's
that.
how the videos are. And it's a lot of, there's a lot of fear mongering in the parenthood space. And like,
Right.
I think I was telling you the other day, or we were voice noting, and I'm like, I gotta go because I gotta read to these babies, because
Right. Yeah.
there's this thing called the 30 million word gap or something like that. And it basically says that, like, well, okay, actually, it's interesting. I've learned more about it since then. So when I first heard about this 30 million word gap, it was basically saying that if you, the person who was explaining it on TikTok, okay, said that you need to read to your kids when they're little, because if you don't, by the time they get to kindergarten, the kids who haven't been read to regularly could have missed out on being exposed to 30 million words. Okay. Which sounds absurd, right? But whatever. Okay. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. We started reading. I always planned to read to my kids a lot because whatever. So we'd started reading to the girls as soon as they came home. We'd read to them every single night. And it was kind of a family thing. But fast forward to two more kids, it's not always a family affair to do all the steps at night. And some nights I'm just trying to get the babies to bed so I can move on to getting the toddlers to bed. And I wasn't reading to them every night. Like, I'm going to admit it, wasn't reading every night. And then someone else came back around with this 30 million word gap. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot about the 30 million word gap. I'm like, my babies are going to be so behind, right? So I'm like, crap. Now, mind you, all of my kids are also bilingual. Okay. So like, let's also I think they're probably doing okay, but this is me in my head, the mom who, you want to set them up for success. Okay. So I'm like, crap, got to get back to reading every day. So I'm reading to them, all good. Then I was like, I want to make sure that I haven't not read for so long that like it's too late to catch up on the 30 million word gap. Okay. But when I look into it, the reality that what it really is it was a study showing that children in lower socioeconomic upbringings, they were the ones more at risk of the 30 million word gap, because of the different ways that language is used. They might not be exposed to much. Maybe they're not reading as much because maybe their parents don't have like the time, or maybe they're not educated on the importance of reading to like a baby who clearly isn't listening to you, right? So it was more than just not reading to them, which was what that first TikToker led me to believe, but it was also a whole study done on different socioeconomic levels, which gratefully, we're not in one of those like lower levels of that this study was showing, right? And then furthermore, it appears that a lot of that study has gone on to be debunked. So I, 3 years ago, see a lady on there telling me, read to your kids or they're going to miss 30 million words. Fast forward, I'm like, oh, someone else just tells me, read to your kid, they're going to miss. I'm like, crap, got to do it. But this time I'm clear-headed enough to be like, let me look into it a little more. I'm still anxious, which is why I'm doing it in the first place. But let me look into it a little more. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I know that I speak to my kids. I know that I read to my kids. I know that we sing, we do all the things. They're not going to miss any words. They're not. But I was so freaked out about such a thing that is not even a real thing, but people are still out there perpetuating that without any knowledge or facts behind it. So it's just an interesting little thing that you got to do research.
And that isn't even one that it could really damage them. I mean, sure, if they're a little behind in reading or whatever, I guess it's okay. But that's not a health hazard or anything like that.
And I was still so freaked out.
Right. But the fact that it makes you so anxious, I mean, just is a testament to what a great mother you are. But also the socioeconomic thing was really interesting because I had only heard the first part of it because I guess you hadn't done the research yet.
I hadn't.
Last time
No.
we talked about it.
Mm-mm.
But I think it's more so about what types of conversations are being had around the kids. And obviously you and John and your family are very intelligent. So the conversations that even they're being privy to, when they're in the same room and stuff like that, it's you are using many words. You are talking about many different topics and many different conversations come up just because you guys are smart and you have the capability to talk about many different types of topics.
Right.
But I could see in a household where they don't talk about anything, they just don't have the capacity to, or they just that those conversations don't come up.
Right.
I could see that kind of being an impact. I mean, even to this day, there are words that I'm just what? I've never heard that word before. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's gonna happen to everyone. Yeah, you're always gonna not know all the words, especially with the darn English language. There's too many words to know. You can't possibly know all the words.
You can't possibly know them all.
Or you'll just use the word incorrectly, and then you're oh, whoops.
Whoops.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's very interesting, and I feel that's a low stakes way to address the issue of fear mongering on social media, especially for mothers who are already experiencing postpartum anxiety and depression and all of this, and it literally preys upon that in order to capitalize on your attention and get more views. Just the same way they use politics and whatever to capitalize. I mean, certainly there's some overlap there, I'm sure, with parents being into politics or whatever. But anyway, that is really good advice. Just before you get so up in arms, do your research, but also have a pediatrician on lock where you really can talk to them about whatever. Or honestly, I would say use ChatGPT as well.
Well, now, absolutely.
Obviously, don't trust everything ChatGPT
No,
says.
it's a good sounding board.
Yeah, but if you would like a little bit of insight from a completely unbiased source that does not even have, well, I guess it's not completely unbiased, but it's not like your mom trying to calm your nerves. Literally, it's a robot AI that has no interest in what your nerves are.
Exactly, doesn't care at all. It'll just be girl, you're crazy, you're fine, or go to the hospital.
But also if it's a question that you're kind of embarrassed to ask, or you don't want to even bother your pediatrician with it or something like that, the spinning around in circles thing. It's is it's that's a good thing to ask ChatGPT because at least you can, calm your anxiety a bit about something that you kind of know might be BS. Yeah. But anyway, that's
absolutely. Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. I'm sure kids are going to be speaking all the words in no time, and words that you didn't even want them to be speaking.
Oh, absolutely. No, those, especially the girls, they're always saying things. And I'm like, how do you even know that? And I'm like, well, I guess they're not on that 30 million word gap or whatever.
Right. What is Peppa Pig teaching you?
Oh my gosh. I know. No, the other day, this lady was like, oh, I love your English accents to the girls. And then she like looked at me. She's like, let me guess, Peppa Pig. I was like, yeah. And that's just like,
I'm
they're
dead.
like, I want to go on the lift, mummy. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to go on the lift, mummy, when we went to the doctor. I was
Oh
like,
my gosh, you're
okay.
like in Target. You're like, girl, we're taking the escalator.
Yeah, like the
That's
lift.
so funny.
Hmm.
So actually, this brings up another question that I have. So, how do you feel about screen time with the kids? Like, are they on some kind of a screen time plan? Because, like, whenever I see, of course, everything is on 90 Day Fiance. Whenever I see
Sure.
like babies on 90 Day Fiance, it's like they always just give them the tablet or like
Hmm.
whatever reality show it is I'm watching. It's like they always just
Hmm.
give the baby the tablet. And like even in
Hmm.
like restaurants and stuff like that, it's like, is that the strategy that you go for, or are you like a little bit more like I don't know?
No, okay, so with screen time in general, we're not anti screen time in this house. I mean, you know, just with our jobs alone, like, I also don't like the idea of being like, no screen time for you, but I'm over here on my computer and phone all day. Like, no. So we do, like, the kids can watch TV. To a certain extent. They have very, very limited things that they're allowed to watch, and we just keep it mostly just educational content. And so, now that the girls have desires about what they watch, we've like instituted like a weekend rule, and we'll be like, okay, well, it's the weekend, so you can watch Peppa or whatever. And versus during the week, it's like learning shows only. Not that they don't learn from these other shows, because I mean, there's concepts, right? But anyhow, but as far as the tablet use in public, we don't do that. Like, I always, of course, have my phone for an emergency, right? Like if they're just too squirrely, especially when they were babies, and I'm like, okay, I know Miss Rachel's gonna like make them be quiet for a second if we need it. But when we're at restaurants and things like that, we want them to learn to engage with the table, to enjoy their surroundings. So like I always bring drawing boards with us, if we're at a restaurant that doesn't have coloring or whatever, because they might want something to do. But when they were littler, no tablets, no nothing. We don't take tablets with us. They have them. And we just recently introduced them to them and let them play. There's like a phonics reading thing that they can do. We'll let them do for like 15 minutes or so every day, maybe. But yeah, no, we'll bring a couple things for them to entertain themselves with if they so need it. And then we just kind of teach them that way. And like I said, our strategy for restaurants, though, because I think you brought that up, and this is what we do. So when we get to a restaurant, as soon as the waiter comes to the table, we immediately order their food, whether we've thought even what we want, anything. I'm like, kids menu, please. Like, look real quick. If it's someone we're not familiar with, I order their food immediately. And so then that way, their food comes out. We can get their food set up. They can start eating while we're enjoying a drink or an appetizer or whatever. And so then that way, by the time our food comes, they're satisfied. Like, they're not hungry, they're not restless. They might want to try ours or something like that. And then we can still eat and then, leave like that. So that's the other things. Like, kids don't have the capacity for a lot of patience. So you have to meet them where they're at. And it's not saying, hold on, like, we're gonna sit here and just eat the bread basket for a while. Now, if there's a bread basket, sure, have some, but like, we get their food right away. And then another thing that I will do, if I can tell things are trending down for whatever reason, maybe it's too close to bedtime or whatever, then I will be like, put my meal to go. I'll eat my appetizer here to like be at a restaurant, but like I can eat when I get home. Like, that's fine. Like, they've eaten, get home, put them to bed, and then enjoy my meal in peace. But yeah, we don't do tablets out and about. I just think if they get used to always getting to have their tablet when we're out, then they're only gonna behave if they have it. And I think that they should be enjoying the world and experiencing life. And it is important for them to know what it's like to be bored, if you will, to think like, oh, no one's giving me stimulus. I need to figure out how to entertain myself. And like, when they're a bit older and can read, and they can bring a book with them. Like, that's what I used to do. Like, I had my little book and I'd just be like reading my book if I was like bored at an appointment or something. So
That's a super good point. And I still haven't been out with you guys to a restaurant. We talked about doing that, so
soon.
maybe we'll do the lemon outfits and go
Yes,
back to the
let's do
lemon
it.
place because
Let's
I
do
love
it.
that place. But I did not envision them on tablets at the table. Like, that was never the case. Like, I envisioned them being little participants in
Yep.
the meal.
That's
You know
what
what I
they
mean? And
are.
like, of course, like I want to like enjoy time with them, and like, yeah, they should learn that like you will be bored at the table sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
and you have to be respectful of your elders. And if they are boring you, then that just is what it is.
It just is
And
what it is.
That's how, well, listen, I went on a cruise with my grandmother before she passed away, rest in peace. Darn it, it was the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. But I was with my grandma. I pushed her out of the wheelchair. You know, it's like you have to learn to enjoy those moments. And furthermore, yeah, if they are always on their tablets at the table, then like think if they're like 7 or 8 or 9 years old. It's like that's an age where you actually can engage with the conversation to a certain extent. But it's like if they're so used to being on their tablets, then they're just going to assume that they get to a restaurant and then they just put their face down in their tablet.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, that's not really acceptable for a young lady to like just assume that she will just be on her tablet. It's like,
Exactly.
no.
It's not. And that's like, I mean, we've lost so much, like so many social graces. People don't have interpersonal communication skills anymore. People cannot communicate IRL, and that's not helping things, right? And so people like always want to villainize screen time for kids, villainize tablets. And I don't think that that's the case. I think that screen time and tablets are all great things and devices, but they need to be used appropriately, monitored, and we need to teach our kids to be in public. And the other thing is, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want my kid, jumping around or talking too loud or whatever. And the other thing we have to remember, and my mom had to like really drill this into me, is that kids are humans too. They're allowed to take up space. They are allowed to be heard. They are allowed to be in public spaces. And of course, like you don't want them falling out and throwing tantrums, but like that's assuming you've prepared your kid and you're doing what you need to do as a parent. That's going to be few and far between that they're going to do that in public. And if they do it once in a while, I mean, gather them up and deal with it. But we're so afraid that people are going to judge us for like how our kids are acting. Then you're like, just give them a tablet and we know that they're going to be quiet for an hour. But like, that's not leading them to like a successful coping skills, in my opinion, so that's another reason why like I just had to get used to it, that like, oh, they might like whine and cry, and then lo and behold, they really only act bad at home. So,
Well, because I remember when I was little, and I mean, as much as I can remember, like if I was acting out at a restaurant or whatever, my mom would grab my little arm and she would take me out, and she'd be like, "All right, well, you don't get to enjoy the restaurant then,
Yep.
and you have to, and we're gonna sit in the car."
Yep.
If I was gonna act out or whatever, it's like, well, you quickly learn that you don't want to act out. But then I feel like the other side of it is some parents just like allow their child to act all crazy at the restaurant. It's like, well, no, I know that it sucks that you don't get to enjoy the restaurant, but you have to remove your child when they're acting all crazy
100%.
because they have to learn that they don't just get to act all crazy in restaurants, because then that leads to people, though, to adults that act all crazy in restaurants.
Yeah, and I mean, and sometimes when the kid is acting all crazy, especially when they're little, they actually need a moment to regulate. They need to get outside or remove themselves from the stimulating situation or whatever it is that set them off, right? So it's like, let them get a minute to get themselves together. And that's why I said, like, when I'm going out to dinner with the kids, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm about to like go out to dinner and have a good old time. Like, yes, it'll be like a nice time. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I'm only going to have a drink, focus on helping them eat, or I'm going to have a few bites of the appetizer, and then I will eat when I get home. Like, it's not for me. It's to teach them how to eat out, for them to enjoy, because my girls love to eat out. Or it's to have a family social outing. It doesn't have to be the most peaceful, like straight to eating meal I've ever had. Like, I can just be a mom at that point, and then on date night or girls' day out, then I have a meal that I'm not having to feed anybody, and you got to balance it that way sometimes.
That's a really good way to look at it. And like the timing of the food and everything like that. Like, I think that's a really great tip, because then it's like you don't go into it thinking you're going to have some luxurious like meal that you just get to enjoy every bite. It's like, actually, no, like you're on mommy duty.
Yep.
But I think ordering their food quickly,
Yes.
that's a really smart idea,
Yes.
because then it's like they don't even get a chance to, and then once they're full, they're like a
chill.
little bit more tired anyway.
Yep, they're
so
chill.
it's like, yeah,
and we go back to the same places a lot. So like there's one place in downtown Summerlin where like they know us, they give us the same table, they come over and they're like, what do the kids want? Like immediately at once, like what the kids want, here's some crayons, here's this. And then they know that like they bring theirs out, they split their little plates up, like they do it all because they know us now, you know? So like that's also really helpful. You'll find some really great wait staff who like know how to cater and be helpful towards a nice experience with your kids. And that goes a long way. And those are the places that we want to like keep frequenting because they make it easy for us to go out with 2 to 4 children.
What restaurant are you talking about?
It's Trattoria Reggiano. It's a
Oh, yeah.
Italian restaurant. Yeah, love that place and
Yeah,
love
yeah.
the people in there. They are so amazing to us when we come in with the kids or
There's so
without.
much good food at downtown Summerlin. But yeah, that is a really good point too. And I mean, like, your girls are so freaking cute. It's like they're hard to forget.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, of course they're gonna see those girls again. And like, I think it's a vibe. Like once the girls are excited to see the wait staff and the waits, and then everyone's happy. It's like no one's
Exactly.
like going to like a stuffy place where it's like, oh, you need 2 high chairs. or
Yes,
whatever.
exactly, exactly.
We only have one.
I know,
It's
and
like,
I need to put
okay.
my you do want to bring a stroller in here?
Right, yeah. Okay, so that brings me to my next question about traveling with the babies. So I know you have a stroller for 4, but what other advice? I know you haven't brought everyone on a plane yet, and we'll do an
Yeah.
update when you do go on a plane with everyone, so we'll have some more advice. But for now, what sort of advice do you have for like travel, specifically air travel with the kids?
Okay, I think the number one thing that a lot of people don't know until you're like in this situation is that when you are traveling with babies, you can bring water, like sealed water bottles for them if you need to make formula or water cups or whatever. You can bring breast milk, you can bring prepared formula, like as much as you want. So don't.
Oh, the limits don't apply. The like 3 ounce or whatever limits don't apply.
No, so you can bring
Oh,
full, and you can bring just
interesting.
regular water bottles because you need it to prepare your baby's food. So it's basically like almost considered medical at that point. So like you will get extra scanning when it'll go through and they'll pull it to the side. They'll be like, "Why do you have all this?" And I'll be like, "Because I have babies." And then they just rub the little thing on it, make sure, and then they're like, "Okay." And like I remember one time he was like, "Well, can you open this?" I forget what it was. It was like baby formula or juice or something. And then I was like, "No, if I open it, it's contaminated." He was like, "Oh, okay." And then he just expected it and put it all back. So that's a big thing that people don't know because they're like, "What am I supposed to do?" Da, da. No worries.
Well, no, you don't want to pay $7 for a damn water bottle for your baby's
Exactly.
formula.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, you can fill up their sippy cups, all the things. So that's like one of the biggest things, I think. And then as far as the traveling, I would say the 3 biggest tips I'll go with. Number 1, snacks on snacks on snacks. And just bring all the snacks, like whatever age your baby is. If they're like the first time we traveled with the girls, they didn't really eat a lot, so it was just puffs. Like just brought tons of puffs in different flavors and let them play with those, like whatever. So tons of snacks that are like easy to access. Like make sure you pack yourself up organized. I put them in nighttime diapers to just prevent blowouts, hopefully, and that worked. And then bring some, if they're a little bit older, bring toys that they've never seen before. Something like quiet and without a lot of pieces. But yes, bring something of interest that they've never seen before. A little busy book, like a to-go busy book, something like that, that can keep their interest for a while. Because with kids, like anything entertains them pretty quickly or for a long time if it's new. So just have that available. And again, like I said earlier, just remind yourself that kids are allowed on planes. How little babies crying is how they communicate, it's how they talk. So that person in 3A who's having a loud conversation is the same thing as your baby crying because their ears hurt. It's the same. It just is different because we're like, "Oh, a baby's crying." And then everybody's starting to get up in arms because they hear a baby. But if they wanted a silent flight, they should have booked private. Of course, most parents are doing everything they can to not have their baby screaming because when your baby screams, you get a physical reaction to it and an emotional reaction. So not only are you anxious because you want your baby to be happy, now you're anxious because strangers might be mad at you, and physically your body is reacting because your child is upset, and you don't know why. So give the mom some grace, like if you're not a mom listening to this. But yeah, and just remember, even if it's the worst 4 hours of your life or however long the flight is, you'll get through it. But try to just be as prepared as possible. If you can, travel like during times when they would normally be sleeping anyways. So like our first flight, we did a red eye. So like I put them to bed. I had to wake them up to get to the airport. But, they were chill in the airport because they were tired. And then as soon as we got on the plane, they just went back to sleep. And then just had ways to like distract them and play with them, and don't do all that stuff by like bribing the people in your seats around you. I know a lot of like people do that, bring like goodie bags and stuff, which is like a cute idea in theory, but it says that they don't deserve to be here. And like, especially in America, like we are not like a family centric nation as much as you would want other people to like believe, because, you know, they want to like take away your rights to if you have to have a family or not or whatever. But we're not. Like, we act like kids are like these second class citizens, and in other places it's not like that. Like, if you're somewhere with a kid, like there's a special line for you, like you're going first, you're getting seated, because they're just not capable of the level of patience and self-regulation and self-control that older, you know, adults are. And people like seem to forget that and expect kids to be like little military soldiers walking around, you know, and they're not. Like, we don't want them to be brats, of course, but kids are going to have a moment. They are. So those are some tips I would recommend. Call ahead to your hotel if you're going to need cribs or a microwave. Like, most places will give you a microwave even if it's not a room that like would technically have one, if you need to like warm stuff up.
Oh, same thing with the fridge.
Yep, the fridge. Yep,
They'll
exactly.
put a fridge in there for free, and that's for any medical reasons. Same thing
Exactly.
with the microwave, yeah, as long as it's like a medical reason, and it does make sense because like baby formula is a medical reason. Like, you
It's
can't
medical.
feed them
Just
normal
any old
food. They're
thing.
freaking
Yeah.
babies.
Yeah, and like for your breast milk, whatever. And yeah, just like call ahead and kind of plan to see what they have. Oh, and for like car seats and stuff, like a lot of rental car places and car services will bring a car seat for you, so then you don't have to travel with one if you don't want to. So there's a lot out there. I could do like multiple episodes about traveling, but those are some of like the biggest things.
Okay, well, when you go on your trip, we'll come back and we'll do a follow-up, like just
Yeah.
all about all the things you learned traveling with 4 kids.
Oh.
But that's some really good advice. The TSA thing, I had no idea. And then the new toy thing, like, brilliant. Like, of course, you can't bring their old toy they've already seen. It has
Exactly.
to be a new toy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me, like when I was little, I remember I went on my first plane, like my first long plane to St. Louis with my grandma, and she got me tiny tumbles. Do you remember tiny
Oh,
tumbles?
yeah.
They like did somersaults.
Yes.
She got me a fresh pack of 3 tiny tumbles, and one of them tumbled right down the aisle, and I never saw it again.
Oh, are you serious?
That was very traumatic. So tiny tumbles, not the best toy to bring
No.
because they'll just tumble right away.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's so sad.
I know. At least it wasn't like an AirPod or something.
Yeah, good idea from
Back,
grandma though.
back in my day, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question is most useless baby products, or on the converse, the best baby products that maybe seem like they might be a gimmick or something like that, but they're actually really great, or the ones that are like all over TikTok, but then you're like, you don't really need that.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's a million of them. I mean, the baby product game is crazy. And I'm a product person. I'm a stuff mom, as I like to call it. I'll try anything. I'll buy anything. If I think that's the thing. If a desperate mom thinks it's going to help with whatever problem she has with her kid, she's going to buy it. And these people know it. So things that like you just don't need, or like that aren't really useful, like a baby wipe warmer. Like, sure, it's nice that they get a nice warm wipe when you're wiping them, but you don't need that. Like, they'll get used to it. They'll be fine. They're going to cry when you change their diaper when they're little anyways. Warm wipes are not, because they just don't like it. And it's just like another thing to have and try to plug it in and pay for and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I would say that's like a useless thing. Like, get it if you want it, but you don't need it. And with it, everything is so expensive. It's like, if you can cut down the list of things, you should, because there's some things you're just going to need. I would say baby socks and baby mittens for newborns. All you do is lose them. You're better off getting the sleepers that have the built-in cuffs and the built-in footies, like the convertible ones, because they just kick them off, and then you're just finding, like, I mean, to this day, I could like look somewhere in the house and I might find like a single little newborn sock somewhere or mitten or something, because they don't stay on.
Right.
So
And then they might scratch themselves and stuff too if it's a mitten that just comes off.
exactly.
So I think I remember seeing the little outfits you had for them. And they had, like, little,
Yeah, and their like little hands are in there and their feet are
Yeah.
in there. And it's nice the ones that are convertible, because then you can just fold it down when they don't need the foot in, and then, you
Right.
know, back and forth. So it's nice. So I would say though, like, so don't bother yourself with tons of newborn socks and mittens. Just get their little sleepers to have the convertibles on them, and you'll be saved. Velcro swaddles don't get them. They seem inconvenient. Okay, so when you have a newborn, you have to swaddle them. And well, you don't have to, but you should, because it like helps them not give into their startle reflex and like keep jerking and waking themselves up, because like when they're born, their bodies like startle a lot. It's called like the Moro reflex or something like that. But
They're just like working into their bodies or whatever.
yeah, I
It's
guess.
like a kind of like reflex, and then they like wake themselves
And then they
up.
wake themselves up. Yeah, because it's like that feeling of like falling, like when you're sleeping and you feel like you fall and you wake up and you're like, oh. So that's what happens to them. So, because now they're out of the womb and they're not all tight anymore. So you wrap them up all tight like little baby burritos, which you can do with blankets. However, some people find swaddling intimidating. It can be a little bit of like a learning curve, I guess. But so the market, of course, has a solution to that. And they have all these different pre-made swaddles and zipper swaddles and blah, blah, blah. Some of them are great. There's a couple that I did love, but the ones that have Velcro on them are so obnoxious. They have these two huge panels of Velcro. So every time you have to open it to change the baby or whatever, it's loud. I mean, it's like, and I was like, oh my God, the baby's like, oh. So even if the baby's half asleep or is asleep and whatever, and it's so obnoxious. And then when you wash them, they get all stuck all over each other. So like literally I used it once and then I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So I never bought those again. And I would tell anybody, buy whatever swaddles you want with like zippers and little pockets and whatnot. Do not buy the Velcro ones. Like it's just ever so obnoxious. It's just a tragedy. Okay. And then a couple of like things that I think were like life changing. The one thing that is very life changing is a snot sucker, the electric snot sucker to be exact. It is because babies don't know how to blow their noses. And then they get sick or they get snot or whatever. And then you're sitting there, you need snot sucker and you need a booger picker. Because their little nostrils are so tiny. And then they'll have a booger that's like blocking their whole nostril. And you're like, oh my God, my baby can't breathe. Booger picker, get it out. And then the snot sucker, when they're sick, they don't know how to blow their noses. You can help clear them out so that they can breathe and go to sleep. It is satisfying and disgusting because then you got to like wash out the little vestibule thing, but it works way better than any of the other ones. And it's just a game changer. So like if you had to get anything, I'd say get that electric snot sucker. And then
That is just not what I was expecting, but I love it so
I
much.
know, but it's so good. Like it is life changing. Truly. We have two now. Like we have two different ones and they are, I mean, and the kids were all just sick. And I was every night, I'm like, all right, everybody line up, like saline in the nose, and they
You got
got all
8 sets of nostrils.
yeah. And I was just like, oh. So that, and then the other thing I think like for newborns, like you don't think about is like somewhere to put them like throughout your house. It depends on like what kind of size house you have, but like if you have a house with like different levels or like a lot of rooms that you're going to be moving about throughout the day, you need somewhere to put them. And like you don't want to just plop them on the couch or whatever because like that whatever. So there's either a bouncy seat or I would say a baby lounger, but those don't last as long. So like a bouncy seat, a swing, like you want to have a couple of different options of places to put your baby throughout the day so that you can, because you're always going to want to bring your baby with you, but there's just like not always a place to set them. And I think that was something I didn't really think about as much. I had all this stuff just because I knew like, oh, you need a bouncy seat, right? But I didn't know like really, I thought, oh, to bounce them, but really it was so that I could bring them in the bathroom while I took a shower and not have to be paranoid that I couldn't see them, because that's how you're going to feel when you have a baby regardless. So yeah, somewhere to put them. And it's preferably something that's portable throughout the house. So if you only get one thing, get something that you can easily move around. Or just get 20 things like I did. So
That makes sense. And then did you the reel I sent you where they put the Velcro on the back of the onesie and then they just stuck him to the couch?
So I had seen that like a while, like years ago, or like someone else posted it maybe, and I had forgotten about it. So when you sent it to me, I showed John, I was like, remember this? I was like, we should do this. And he was like, that's what you said last time. And I was like, well, it's a good idea because it's like, you're like, okay, nobody move. I'll be right back. And then you come back and like everything's a tornado. But if you just Velcro them to the couch, they're safe.
What's the difference between having a bouncy seat and a Velcro to the couch?
And
Then they at
Velcro
least
to
get
the
to hang out
couch.
on the couch with you.
Exactly. And then they just are stuck there, which is really ideal because these kids move fast.
Oh, I also wanted to mention the one reel you did where John swaddled, I think Alexandra instead of the baby. He was just like daddy mode and just like swallowed her. And it's her little head and she's like so excited to be swaddled. It was
Yes.
so cute.
Well, it's so funny too because she's still like every night she's like, "Daddy, I need to be comfy cozy. I need to be comfy cozy." Like that's what she calls it. So yes, so she still wants to be comfy cozy. She still essentially wants to be swaddled.
She still likes to be swaddled. I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't mind a nice swaddle now and again.
Oh no, for sure. I told John I was like, "Okay, now make me comfy cozy." He's like, "Okay." So he's like going throughout the house, tucking everybody in, making us comfy cozy.
I love that. Oh.
Yeah. So
Oh my gosh. Okay, this was like one of my favorite episodes we've done because
yeah.
you really have some great advice.
Well, once you ask, I'm like, you know what? I do.
Yeah. And it's like you like had to learn so much more quickly because if you made a mistake, it was a mistake times four.
Ugh. Yeah.
So, yeah, so you like
And I definitely made some. Like, let's be clear, everybody. Like, it's a learning game. Every day I learn something new. Truly.
right, but you just have so many more test subjects. So
Yeah.
you can learn the wrong way so much more quickly, I feel like,
Oh,
because you have
absolutely.
four chances to get it wrong when you do one thing.
Yep.
So I think that's what makes it so interesting and
It
what
is.
makes you such a great mommy.
Oh, thank you. That's always nice to hear because it's so hard.
I know. Well, I don't know, right? But I know that yes, I know how difficult it is to have freaking so many little children. But oh, it's going to be so worth it when they're older. They're just all going to be so obsessed with you and they're just going to
I hope so.
rally.
I hope so.
And oh my gosh, for your birthday, they're just going to like really like show up for you. Don't worry, I'll teach them how. I'll be like,
Okay.
listen,
There you go. That's
this
what
is
we
how you
need.
get a good gift. You guys all got to team up,
Yep.
put all your pennies together.
Together. Yes.
And get mommy something nice. Okay? Mm-hmm. She doesn't need any more papers with crayons on them.
I don't. I've got enough.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think that wraps up our episode.
Yes, it does. This was so good. Yeah, and we'll definitely be doing more of these. But if you have questions or anything for, Ask Mother Fox, leave them in the leave them
That's a
in the
good one.
comments. It is, right? And of
Ask Mother
course,
Fox.
subscribe and go watch us over on Brook's channel. All of this is in the description box. I try to put all the possible information, all the ways that you can stalk us. I do put it there to make it easy so I don't have to sit here and recite it all. But yeah, if you made it this far, then thanks for watching.
All right, bye.
Bye.